Hey there, Cozy Babe, and welcome back to the Cozy Babes Club. I'm your host, Chloe Taylor, and today we are doing this is part two to our Big Sister advice episode for the spring season. So, if you missed the winter seasons episode or if you missed the last part, I will link those down below for you. You do not need to watch them to understand what is going on in this episode, but just know if you want to watch more like this, I have a whole playlist of those and a few extra episodes. We do these every season. I ask you on Instagram what kind of advice you need. It's really more of a what would Kloee do in your situation because I only have my own lens to look at things, though I can try to be understanding and compassionate. At the end of the day, I don't know your circumstances. I have not lived your life, and this might be good advice for someone. It also just might not. So, that being said, keep that in mind as we go through these. And I'm so excited. I feel like we're not even going to do a little catch up because I'm literally filming these back to back. I just want to get straight into it. So, let's go ahead and see what y'all asked. Okay, so the next question from last week is how to put yourself out there when you have bad social anxiety. Tips on what to do, please. I hate to break it to you, but the only way out is through. The only way out is through. It's the same way that like agoraphobia works, where if you have agoraphobia where you're afraid of crowds or large open spaces, or you're afraid to leave the house for whatever reason. I've talked about this on my podcast before that I struggle with agoraphobic like tendencies where I get scared that if I leave the house, I'll have a medical emergency. And it's due to a lot of extenuating factors that have made me that way. But in order to get better, you have to make a conscious effort to leave the house anyways. And it's the same way with social anxiety. Like, yes, you can get therapeutic help, you can go on medication. There are a lot of techniques, but ultimately, the only way you're going to get better is if you do it. So, let me tell you a little bit about my experience because I myself struggle with social anxiety still to this day. It is something I have struggled my entire life with. I can't think of a time in my life where I did not have social anxiety. And ultimately, I think if I could give you like just some sage wisdom, looking back on my 20s, okay, I'm about to be 34. Actually, by the time this episode goes out, I don't think it will have been my 34th birthday yet, but it is coming up. May 14th is my birthday. And looking back on my life in my 20s, I put a whole episode out recently where I talked about lessons from my 30s or from my basically that I've learned since coming into my 30s. And something that I didn't mention in that episode, but if you want more advice and like wisdom like this, I think it's a good episode to go back and watch, is that as somebody that has struggled with social anxiety, I have had to look back on my 20s and I see now, with the perspective that I have, that my social anxiety was way worse than I realized. And it kept me from so many experiences that I wish I had said yes to. There were so many things that I could have done that I just didn't in the name of social anxiety. Like, I can think of numerous times where I was invited out, where I was invited to a birthday party, where I was invited to get together with friends, go to escape room parties, go to game nights. Especially when I was living in Utah, I feel like my husband's coworkers that he's friends with, like they invited me to do things all the time, and I would always say no. And part of it was workaholic tendencies, but a big part of it was social anxiety and also agoraphobia. So I would say no. And it's sad because in order to have a village, you have to be a villager. In order to, and I think something to think about is that the pain of not changing, in my experience, has to hurt more than the change. That's why I'm telling you these things, not because I want you to get all up in your head about it and freak out, but the pain of not changing almost has to be worse so that you will make a change. And that's true with anything in life, not even just this. But in my experience, looking at that, I've realized how many people I haven't gotten to know, how many people wanted to open their heart and lives to me that I just outright denied, would isolate myself in the name of fear and social anxiety. And I feel like only now Am I more certain about who I am? Am I more, though I still have struggles, though I still get up in my head about that social anxiety all the time, I'm more willing to do it even though I'm scared. And like recently, I've mentioned on the podcast a few times now, I've started going to a local astrology meetup that I really like. I really like the people there. I really like what we talk about. And I feel like for the first time in my adult life, I am like kind of cultivating a village. I don't know that they would consider me part of their village yet, but I feel like this could be the turning point. I feel like I have so much love to give, and I only hurt myself by not giving it. And again, like, I think a lot of my retrospect also comes from living a couple of years very isolated and extreme loneliness, like lonelier than I've ever been in my entire life. I've never dealt with loneliness before the last couple of years. Like, even I went through the whole panini and didn't feel lonely. And the last couple of years were extremely lonely. And so I really feel you on that, like having social anxiety, wanting it to get better. What are tips to get out of it? And ultimately, if you're in a position where you can't afford to go and seek professional help, which I so understand because, girl, been there, done that, got the t shirt and the trauma. If you are not able to do that, I would say it is really important that you just push yourself out of your comfort zone as frequently as you can, because the only way out is going to be through. Even if you got into therapy and started seeking help, eventually that's what they would be helping you try to do, is to get to a place where you feel safe enough to do that anyways. So the sooner you can get there on your own, if it's possible, the easier time you're going to have. And the first few times you do it, it's going to suck. Like, I have to be so honest with you. The first two or three times are going to be hard, but it gets easier as you continue. Like, I'm about to meet with this same group a third time and I don't feel as anxious. I'm really excited. I think I'm actually going to like take cookies to the group. I'm so stoked to be a part of that. But that's what I'm saying. Like, the only way out is through, and it's unfortunate, but the only way out is through. Okay, no advice, just an update on how your health and weight loss journey is going for inspo. So, if y'all didn't know, I'm on a mission to lose 83 pounds. That, or did I say 83 or 87? I'd have to look at my notebook where I keep track of it. I will not lie to you. I feel like when I went to Hawaii for 3 weeks, I really fell off. I don't think I ate terribly the entire time. Like, I took good care of myself, but I don't feel like I was on my workout game. I don't feel like I took as the best care of myself. I came home with a sugar addiction. I and I don't say that lightly. Like, I don't throw the word addiction around like it's cute. I do not say that lightly at all, because I know firsthand, not firsthand, but secondhand, I guess, what that looks like. In my own family, there are numerous people that struggle with like hardcore addictions. And so I don't throw that around lightly, but I feel like I was eating a lot of sugar. And y'all know that I love wellness. Like, I have been to school to become a holistic nutritionist. I love wellness, and I love taking as natural of a path as possible. That's just kind of my thing. Though I am not against the pharmaceuticals or anything like that, I myself really try to go natural first, and then I'll get Western medicine involved if I need to. Point being is that I feel like I just didn't stay on top of it, and I was eating sugar. Like, I'm not used to having Costco sized containers of cinnamon rolls around that I'm just eating by myself. I'm not used to making a pan of brownies and being the only person that's gonna eat it. And I feel like I came home with literally a full fledged sugar addiction. And as somebody with insulin resistance and PCOS, I already have a hard time with that. Like, my body has a hard time with sugar. So I have been currently really working on that. I have not been as focused on weight loss because I have to figure this out first before I can go back to those efforts, because doing it all at once feels overwhelming. So currently, I am working on a sugar fast. I'm just working on literally cutting it out of my life cold turkey. That is Like, not to say that I will never eat sugar again. I just think that that's unrealistic. But I think in order, like, prior to this experience, I didn't have an issue with sugar. I could just frankly not eat it. And it was not hard for me at all. And now I feel like I need it every day and it's a problem. So I am literally, as of today, a D day is today. I am cutting it out cold turkey. I will eventually reintegrate it into my life because I think life is too short to not treat yourself sometimes. But I want to go back to that when sugar wasn't this thing that I felt like had such control over me that I didn't feel like I needed it every day. I want to get back to that. So I find the best way for myself is to starve that shit out. So not starve myself, but like literally there is like bacteria in your stomach that I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of sugar addiction comes down to candida overgrowth, which is where like the gut bacteria in your stomach overgrows to such a point, the candida, that it craves and feeds on sugar. So you will crave more sugar. And then don't even get me started on the insulin resistance part of it. So it's a whole thing. And then like the ADHD dopamine of it, like it's problematic. So right now I'm not super focused on weight loss, but I do think cutting back sugar will ultimately make me lose weight anyways. I'm also, secondary thing that you might be interested in, especially if you're somebody that has a cycle, is I read this book called Fast Like a Girl. I'll tell you exactly what it's called actually, or who it's by. Who is it by? If you're interested. It is called Fast Like a Girl. It's by Dr. Mindy. I can't read her name because it's being covered. Mindy Peltz, I think. It's all about why intermittent fasting doesn't really work as well as it could if you're not cycling it with your hormones. So she addresses everyone too. She addresses people that have gone through menopause, people that have a continuous regular cycle, people that have PCOS, people that haven't had their period in a long time. She addresses everybody, and it's a very well documented, well footnoted book. Like, I want to say once I finished reading the book, there was like 2 hours of just footnotes and cited work on where all this information came from. And I understand intermittent fasting is not for everyone because for some people that have been through like diet and restriction and binging, like if you have had pre-existing eating disorders, I don't think intermittent fasting is for everyone because it can lead to cycles of self-harm again. So we got to be careful with those things. Keep that in mind if you decide to read this book. I'm not saying it's the holy grail, but the information that I gained from it, I'm excited to try to implement. So I've also been, one last thing, I've also, actually, I have a lot to say about this category. I've started seed cycling, which I can talk more about that in another episode because it's a whole thing. But for hormone health, I've started seed cycling and I feel like I have seen progress with it before. And I'm now over 2 weeks in. I just started my third week. And so far, my cycle has not shown up. So fingers crossed that it will. But yeah, I'm 3 weeks in. I'm on my third week. I just started my third week. And I like just changed my seeds over today. You can look it up if you want to know more. Like there's tons of information out there on Google about it. If you're not paying attention to your hormones and you're someone that has a cycle and you're trying to lose weight or anything, you are doing yourself a disservice by ignoring that. Like the way that you lose weight comes down to usually metabolic issues. If you're having a hard time releasing weight, it comes down to metabolic issues. And so a lot of that stuff comes down to your hormones. So just saying, just putting it out there. More hormone information is necessary. And then the last thing I wanted to say on this is I tried working out 5 days in a row like a couple of weeks ago. I was miserable. I hated it so much to the point that I don't want to do that. I used to say, oh, I want to build to being working out 5 days a week. And I tried it and I hated it. And I am super cool doing 3 workout classes a week and maybe doing like a walk 2 of the other days. I do not need to be doing workout classes 5 days a week. And I also feel like there's something to be said about cycling your workouts with your menstrual cycle as well. So I just recently learned that in terms of weight loss, I will not be working out 5 days a week. That's insanity to me. I will never go back to that. That's cuckoo bananas, actually. So that's all really the update I have in the weight loss category. I'm sure I'll cover it more in the future, but that's just where I'm at right now. Okay, just did bankruptcy. Would love to hear more about how you do your budget and finances with your partner. So, I actually feel like this is something that is such a topic of high interest for me right now because for the first time, literally, I've been with my partner for 17 years. We are kind of getting a handle on our finances for the first time ever. We like have money in our savings account. We have money that we individually receive. And basically, what we did, and I can talk more about this in like the relationship episode that I will be making and like I want to talk about long-term relationships eventually. But something that we did that I think single-handedly made a huge difference. And you have to know, I'm not going to go into all the lore because it's too much for one episode. Like it would need to be like a three-part series. But my husband and I can't speak for him because that's his business, how he wants to share himself online. And I can't speak to how his parents did or did not teach him about finances. That's frankly none of my business. And I don't know. I don't know. I literally don't know. From what I understand, he didn't feel like there was any teaching, but again, his business. I don't know. For myself, my parents to this day argue about money, like yell about money. And it's so sad because there is not one person in my immediate family that doesn't deal with some level of poverty, except for I have like one sibling that I think does okay, but they like live with other family members. So a lot of their needs are taken care of. But every single like and I'm just a big believer that when you see things like that in family lines, I immediately look to the parents and what they were teaching those kids about finances. So I'm not trying to blame my parents. I am old enough to make my own decisions. So are all of my siblings. But I do think that there has been a lot of financial trauma that I have had to work through. And I'm not done and I'm not finished and I'm not okay. Like, there are still things that I have to work through. But I do think that I definitely grew up with a big scarcity mindset, huge. There was never enough, and you couldn't ask for things in my family because everything had to be fair. And if it wasn't fair, like with 7 kids, you can't be fair with 7 kids unless you're a millionaire, which my parents were not. So it just created, and like also watching my parents tear each other apart over money, it created this like, oh, like to the point that when I married my partner, I told him the one thing I will never fight with you about is money. If we fight about money, we will immediately go to counseling. Like that is one thing I will not play with. And I've seen what that did to my parents' marriage. I see what it still does to my parents' marriage, and I don't want any part of that. So, and I know I'm not the only one in my family that has that kind of reaction, but ultimately, basically what I'm trying to say is I think some of the biggest trauma I was given was financial trauma. And like I think it has been through my lifetime, like I am meant to figure that shit out and change it generationally. So even whether I have children or not, like once I get to the bottom of it, rest assured I'm going to be teaching it. But my spouse and I, first, we started like meeting about our finances on a weekly basis. Okay. Every week, usually on whatever day payday is. My paydays are kind of all over the place because I make money from multiple sources, but his job is concrete. He gets paid at the same time every week, on the same day every week. And so we kind of revolved it around his schedule. And we meet up at our kitchen table. We come with our laptops, we come with our banking apps. We sit down, we have a spreadsheet that I made that we filled it out together, but of course I had to make it all aesthetic cuz that's me. And we go over like any bills, any new bills that have come on, if there's any paid fors we have out, if anything has changed in the financial ecosystem, we are aware of it. And every week we do this, literally every single Thursday. we sit down and we do this and we show respect for our money. So we've been doing this, I want to say, for more than 6 months. Like it has been, I don't think it's been a year, but it's been more than 6 months because we were doing it before we moved into this apartment and we've been here for 6 months. So more than 6 months we've been doing this. And every week we add up what bills are coming out of the account that month, and we both opened our own checking and our own savings account. So we both have joint account. We have, or no, I'm sorry. We have a joint account that we share, and then we both have our own and a joint savings that we share. And then we also have joint individual checking, individual savings that the other person doesn't have access to those things. So like my husband does not have access to my personal account. He does not have access to my personal savings account. And vice versa. I do not have access to those accounts. And I think this has actually helped me and him more than I ever thought it would. I think it has been the saving grace. And what we do is basically after bills, we talk about, okay, what are we saving for together mutually? And right now we're saving for a trip to Hawaii because this is like our last opportunity to go there and do it with our friends that live there before they move. And my husband has never been to Hawaii. So it's our last opportunity to do it. We are every week we put money into our joint savings account for that. So we allotted how much we were going to be doing for that, how long we needed to save for it, how much we needed, and every single week we put money in that account. That is something my husband and I have never attempted to do before. So that's really cool. That's fun to have like a goal in common that we're both working towards. Then I know this is a really long explanation, but I had a lot to say. Then from there, we will go, okay, this is what we have left over. How much money do we want in our checking account to just be there for like going to dinner, taking the cat to the vet, doing like getting a coffee out? How much do we want in when it's a joint venture? How much do we want just sitting in the checking account? And usually it's not that much. I won't lie. That's something that I think in time we will want to accrue more of that. Right now, we're definitely not there. We're still working on having money in our checking account that isn't just bills. So we'll save some money there. We'll also take out money for groceries. And then whatever is left from that point, we will usually divide it and give it to our own separate accounts. So basically, every week we are giving ourselves allowance money. And from that point, it's nobody's business. Like I don't ask my husband about that money. I don't ask him how he spends it. I don't ask him how he uses it. I don't ask him what he does with it. I don't ask him if he saves it. That's none of my business. And vice versa. It goes both ways. So whatever I do with my money, I have my own savings account. I will tell you that I put away 50 to 75% of everything I receive because that just makes me feel better, even if I don't get to treat myself as much during the weeks where I've been building this nest egg. Like, I'm so proud of myself. I have accrued like a hefty chunk of change that's just mine. And it makes me feel really good to, like, the other day, for example, I've never done this in my adult life. Okay. I am 33 years old, almost 34. Never have I done this in my adult life. This was the first time. I went to the Lego store and without having to put it on a pay in for, without having to ask if I'm not going to be able to eat if I buy this thing, without having to ask, is this going to cut into an expense that we really need somewhere else? Can I afford this? I literally got to go into the store and ask myself, can I afford it twice? And this came from my own personal checking. And if the answer is no, I walk away. I can't, and I'm not talking about like savings account money. That's money I just don't touch. But in my personal checking account, if I cannot afford it twice, can I afford it? And basically, I think that's just like a really good rule of thumb. If you're trying to save your own personal money, ask yourself if you can afford it twice. And I could afford it twice. And I bought myself for my birthday, I bought myself the Twilight Lego set. So I don't know. I've just never in my entire life been able to do that. I have never, without it affecting me negatively, without it taking from another area of my life, without it, without it taking from, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to eat this week? Am I going to be able to put gas in my car this week? Never in my adult life have I had that opportunity. So, or like, is my mental health spiraling so I can't even enjoy it? Like, this is the first time I was able to be like, oh my God, I can afford it twice. And I still have money in my savings, and we are paying all of our bills. Like, everything is fine. That was huge. So that's the plan we're currently going with. And as we go, we're implementing things. So, like, every week, we come with like things that we maybe have thought about. Like, we also have, last thing, I promise, then we're going to move on. We also have this thing that's like, what are our wants and desires and how badly do we want those things? And is this something that would go on the joint account, or is this something that is a personal expense? And we come together and decide those things, because some things it's like, well, it's your birthday, so like we can come together on that. Or, this thing in particular I bought myself because I wanted to, but we'll come together and like basically we keep a list that is conjoined, that is, we list things that we've thought about that we have wanted that week, and we'll put a number 1 through 5 next to it, and basically say like 5 is we really want this thing, and 1 is if I get it, cool, if I don't, I don't. And then on that next week, we will sit down and look at those and say, okay, do we still really want these things? Would they still benefit us? Is this still this important to us? And then we'll decide, if yes, can we afford it this week? If no, can we put money into savings towards that thing in our joint savings, or is this going to be a personal venture? So I feel like the most important thing for me, anyways, with money is having a plan, sticking to it, but also communicating. You have to communicate, because it is so, and I know because I've been there. Trust me, I've been in a relationship for 17 years, and I have had, literally, for lack of better words, I'm going to use my mom's favorite phrase, which is, I didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. So it just, I know what it feels like to feel like your finances are running you, and like you are not able to breathe. And it's like, it adds to the frustration, because you're now spiraling on finances and you don't want to look at it because it feels too scary and too overwhelming. And I think that's like step number 1, is you have to look at it. You have to decide to look at it in the face and say, okay, yes, I am scared, but we are going to get to the bottom of it. And I'm also not in it alone, because me and my partner are doing it together. So genuinely, it's crazy to me that I have money that is just available to me, and I'm not struggling. I don't feel like I can't breathe. Like, yes, there are some pressing like debt concerns, but I'll get to those when I get to them, or I won't. And it will be a bigger problem that I'm going to have to tackle. Like, it's okay. It's okay. And it's all right to surrender to the things that I cannot control and try to do my best to control what I can. So, control is all just an illusion anyways, but that is what we do for our budget currently. Okay, the next question is, how do you keep your home nice and tidy? So it's not. First of all, I wouldn't say that my home is tidy 24/7. It's not. What I will say is, I do think that I am pretty good. I'm not perfect, but I am pretty good, and so is my spouse, about doing a mini tidy every day. So I wouldn't say that my home is like dust bunny free and there is no dirt anywhere, but at the bare minimum, the dishes are getting done every day. The counters in the kitchen are getting clean every day. The bed is getting made every day. The sheets get washed every Sunday. Like, there are some things that are on routine. I would say the bare minimum, though, is I always make sure at the end of the night that the 3 main living areas, so that would be the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, those 3 areas are clean before I go to bed every single day. So, and when you do it that way, you spend 15 minutes tidying and it's nothing. Like, it's when you let that stuff pile up that it can become overwhelming. And you have to remember, I don't have children, and I also don't have a dusty, crusty man. Like, my man, he might not always pick up after himself, but if I ask him to, or like, he has definitely come a long way. We are not doing mothering anymore. We are not being a smother anymore. But I feel like though he might not be as tidy as I wish he was sometimes, he does make the effort to get up and like tidy the kitchen and make sure the dishes get put into the dishwasher and the dishwasher gets turned on. Like, we also have a little robot vacuum that we bought for our old house, and we run that every single day. Every day that gets run, because if we don't, there is so much cat litter that gets pushed around this apartment that it is impossible to walk around without getting litter stuck to your feet. So we run that every day as well. But honestly, when it comes to like the deep clean, for myself, I have this rule: don't put it down, put it away. That really helps me. If it takes less than 20 seconds, I will not put it down, I will put it away. That's good for ADHD as well. And when it comes to deep cleaning, I just get to those things when I feel like they need to be done. Like if I feel like my toilet looks dirty, I will clean the toilet. If I feel like my sink is dirty, I will clean the sink. Like it's not, as somebody that loves systems, I feel like when it comes to cleaning, I actually really don't have one, surprisingly. But I keep my house tidy just by, like, there are some daily tidies that have to happen. But ultimately, when it comes to like deep cleaning and stuff, my house really is not deep cleaned. Like, it probably, I wouldn't say my apartment is gross by any means. I am not a gross person. I have been at times in my life, but I am not gross now. My apartment stays pretty clean, and I do think that is because me and my partner take the time to just tidy every day. Book list you're reading or planning study to? Question mark. Okay, book list. I don't know if we're going to do another reads for the season anymore, because the last one just really didn't go over well, and I don't know if anybody really cared that much. So, I don't know if we're going to do, this is a good time to ask about that, because I don't know if it's going to get a dedicated episode. But currently, let me pull up my Kindle app. I just read Fast Like a Girl. That was really good. I finished it. I just got the sample of Venus by Lisa Lister. She's the one who wrote Witch. I think I'm going to buy it to read it this season because it was interesting enough for me to want to buy it. What else have I read? Oh, I'm also currently reading Queen of Myth and Monsters still, which was part of the winter reading list, but really good. I'm actually enjoying it. I wasn't enjoying it at first, and I've gotten more into it. The Life That's Waiting by Brianna Wiest. I read it in 2 sittings. It was phenomenal. Definitely give it a read. Um, that's all that's on my list right now. And then you also said studying too. Like, is there anything I'm studying? You know how much I love to study. You know how much I love to learn stuff. I love that you know that about me. I wouldn't really say I'm studying anything super intensely. Like, maybe I've definitely recently gotten kind of back into food photography, which I've been sharing on my Discord server. I've shared it in like things you made, or maybe it was Good Eats, the section for food. But like I share some stuff over there sometimes, but I wouldn't say I'm actively really studying anything right now. I'm really just kind of like going with the flow of life, and I'm okay with that. Okay. No advice needed, but so much to give. LOL. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Tips and affirmations for meeting your forever partner. I am a firm believer, and I will die on this hill, that in order to meet your forever partner, you really do. I'm not, okay. Sometimes we need people to love us to show us how to love ourselves. That is true. So I do think that that phrase of like, if you can't love yourself, how is anybody going to ever love you, is kind of bullshit, and it's a little toxic. But I think the main point of that phrase isn't that. It's that love yourself enough to not lower your standards. Love yourself enough to have a standard for what you're willing to, for what you want, for what you're willing to accept and what you're not. And basically, don't go to like the bottom of the barrel, I think is what people are saying. But I would say tips for like affirmations. Honestly, when I think about how I got together with my partner that I've been with now for 17 years, we've been through a lot together. We grew up together, we were kids together. I really feel like the thing that did it, and I didn't even know what manifestation was back then. I really believe the thing that did it was the fact that I was very self obsessed at the time. I was not looking for him. I was not looking for him. And I know it sounds so stupid because it's like, if you feel like you don't have love, how are you supposed to just not look? But like, I was so invested in my own life. I was so invested in my friends at the time. I was invested in school at the time. I was still in high school. I was so into my own shit. And I was also really into church at the time because I used to be religious, no longer, but I used to be super religious. So I was really into church. I was really into scripture study. I was really into journaling and like all of my extracurricular classes in school, which was like creative writing, and I took art and I took ceramics and I took foods. I was like so into the crafty side of things. And I feel like I was just very self focused. I was going to like football games at school with my friends, and I just wasn't boy crazy. And I feel like I'd honestly, at that point in time, when I got together with my now partner that I've been with for fucking ever, I honestly was kind of burnt by men in particular because I hadn't realized that. I mean, it's funny. I realize that I've always been bisexual or pansexual. I've always been like, there has never been a time in my life where I was not. I just didn't know. And it's funny because the telltale signs were always there. Like, I used to make collages on my folder and I'd always put like hot women from magazines all over it. And I'd be like, they're so hot. And I would say that openly, being super religious and everything. I was always like, they are so hot. I just want this person on my folder because they're hot. Hello, Christina Hendricks. I used to put her all over my stuff. She was my girl crush in high school. Christina Hendricks, and honestly, anybody that was just like in a magazine that looked hot. Anyway, point being, I feel like I definitely was not open to like women at that time because I was still living at home and I would say denying my sexuality. But I feel like I'd had a lot of like male problems at that time. Like there were so many men that just, I was ready for a serious relationship or what I thought was a serious relationship at that age. And every boy I was interested in was just so fucking dusty. Like there was one guy that I was really interested in that was interested in me and I let him go because he at that time was he was playing with me. Like he was like liked me, but the second I said that I liked him, he was like, "Oh, it's too much too fast." And I'm like, "What the fuck do you mean? I am the catch." Like, hello? um so I remember that so vividly. I told him that I liked him a lot. I would love to have a relationship with him, but I was not going to put myself on hold and take myself off the market for him. Like, truly, I had enough confidence at 16 years old to be like, I will not take myself off the market for you if you're going to play with me. And then, literally, like 2 days later or less, I got together with my now husband, who was my boyfriend for like 5.5 years before that. But I honestly think it was because I was so self focused. I was not going to lower my standards for anyone. And this is going to sound corny, but please don't take it from like a religious perspective. Like, however you take it is how you take it. But I really think that it was my unshakable faith in God at that time. And not the religion that I was a part of, but just my ability to fully trust in the unknown, in something I couldn't see. Though I do not agree with the religious upbringing I had, I think my spiritual connection to the divine really played a huge role in all of that. And I just believed so wholeheartedly that like love was going to find me. I was not going to have to look for it. I was not going to have to lower my standards. And I would be able to be my fullest expression of self, and that person would love me and they would find me. And I also was constantly in a position of finding people because I was at school with everybody the same age as me. But, anyways, I feel like when it comes to affirmations, I don't even know like tips I can give you. Affirmations, not so much. And the dating scene is so different now. But I do feel like if you're looking for that forever person, that marry person, I do think that it comes down to like really be in love with your life, because that's what's going to attract your partner to you. They are going to see you living your life, and that's going to be hot to them. So get super self-focused and make sure you put yourself in rooms where you might potentially meet that person. Like, don't just stay home and be like, oh, they're going to come find me, you know? On getting out of a I'm unworthy, no one will care what I post slump. Ooh, that's such a good one. You know, I really think that I myself struggle with this. So this is a great question. I myself struggle with this sometimes, that I feel like I'm going to put my phone down. That's how good this question was. I feel like when I was in my gaming career, I was really on top of what I was doing. I was on Instagram all the time. I was streaming on Twitch. I was making sometimes as many as 7 YouTube videos a week. Sometimes I think I got down to like 3, and now you're lucky if you get like 1 from me, maybe 2. I used to post every single day. I was in my Discord talking every single day. And like, I was just so immersed in what I was doing, and I had a methodical plan for everything. Like, it reminds me of that meme, or it's like a meme now. What is that guy's name? Nikocado Avocado or whatever. I don't watch his content, but I did see there was that post where he was like, I'm always 2 steps ahead. I feel like when I was in my gaming career arc, I was always 2 steps ahead. Like, I had something on the back burner that I was designing at all times, and I got really burnt out that way. And then I kind of did the same thing with spirituality. I came into it super excited to do something new, super excited to create something new. And I definitely had that bubble burst for me in 2020. I had like a huge influx of people show up to my channel, and that was really awesome for the time, I think. And now I'm just learning how to be present. And I think this is like good advice for this kind of stuff, that I think now more than ever that, the social media is out of control. Like, it's out of control. There is such a high expectation on content creators to be on every platform. It was already out of control in 2000, 15, 16, but now 10 years later, it is even more out of control. And if you're not on Snapchat, what are you doing? If you're not on TikTok, what are you doing? If you're not making YouTube, what are you doing? And I really think there is something to be said about learning to be present with your creation and not losing sight of why you started creating anyways. So, instead of thinking about why should I even post? Is anybody even going to watch anyways? Why not? How can I be with this piece of content? How can I be with this creation that I want to make? How can I have fun with this? Like, right now, my podcast, it's probably my favorite project because it's just so me. It's so me. It changes every week. I feel like we have a different set. We're talking about different things. I come with new ideas. I come with old ideas. Like, it ebbs and flows with me. And I love that about my podcast. But I would also say that, like, do I still struggle sometimes when I say, like, oh, like, my podcast doesn't really have the viewership that I wish it did, and maybe nobody really cares that much, and I should just put it down. Every time I put the podcast down is like the one time I start getting DMs from people being like, Kloee, where's the podcast? Can you bring that back? I really miss it. Literally, without fail. And I think that the more that you are able to sit with your creative endeavors and be present with them, instead of asking yourself how it's going to affect the algorithm or not other people, but like, instead of doing it for the numbers, just doing it for the pure passion of it. And I also think it is so real. The person that asked me, I'm not going to reveal who it was, but the person that asked me is somebody that I know that like also reads tarot cards. And I just want to say that it's also so real if tarot doesn't fulfill you anymore. It's also so real if, gaming or whatever it is that you were into at one time. it's okay if that's not the thing anymore. It's okay to let that be the thing that, like, this was great for me when it was great for me, but right now, this is what's bringing me joy. And maybe you want to share it and maybe you don't. Like, life is too short. Life is too short, and we are literally on a giant rock hurling through space. And I think that as somebody that has like is a dinosaur on the internet that has done so much hustling and so much grinding in my career, I am finally at a point where I'm not willing to hustle and grind anymore, and I'm not willing to make myself do things that I frankly don't want to do. And I think it's valid to just pull back a little bit, maybe take an actual break, take a break for several weeks and don't post, take a break and wait until you are excited to make something. Because I think there's a lot to be said about that too, where like you take a big break and then you get excited about, oh my gosh, I want to do this. Like every time I've taken a break from my podcast, I feel like I get a million new ideas and I'm so excited to make something. But I would say just like don't force it. The things that I tend to do where I'm not forcing it and I'm just chilling, they end up being my best work. They end up being the things that pop off that people pay attention to. And it's so stupid, but it is so true. So I would say work on being more present with your creativity and not focusing on so much the numbers or people or if anybody is going to see it. What if only you saw it and the beauty and the journey was you making it for yourself? You just happened to decide to share it. I hope that helps. Anyways, let's see. What else? What else? What else? We're almost to the end of these questions. I'm in debt, struggling and dealing with trauma from crappy past jobs. Big sis, please. I just talked all about how I budget and how that's been changing for me. So if you want more advice in that category, let me know down below. And then how to set boundaries with adult friends when doing adult friend stuff like going out or partying. Okay, sorry, let me read that one more time. How to set boundaries with adult friends when doing adult friend stuff. Okay, well, okay. This is what would Kloee do. So, first and foremost, I would really take a moment if you haven't done it already, okay? I would take a moment and I would literally turn your phone off, turn the TV off, silence. You need silence. You need peace. Get out a notebook and a piece of paper. And I would tell you, and like burn this later, don't keep it, but assess all of the friendships in your life that you have right now. And literally, like if you need to make pro and cons lists, that's fine. Ask yourself, like, ask yourself number one with each person, how do I feel when I'm with this person? Because that's going to tell you a lot right there. How do I feel when I'm with this person? Then ask yourself, what does this person add to my life? And I don't this isn't about, oh, at every moment of every day, every friend needs to be contributing to me. But I will say this forever, that I believe if your friends do not inspire you in some capacity, you do not have friends, you have a cage. Let me say it again. If your friends do not inspire you in some capacity, I'm not saying grand gestures. I'm not saying they got to spend all their time, money, and attention on you. But if they, in the way that they live, in something they do, in the way they speak, carry themselves, something, if they do not inspire you, you do not have a friendship, you have a cage. And I say that because I have had to learn this time and time and time and time a fucking again, that your friends actually have a lot of pull and influence over you. And same with family. Anybody that is really close to you has a lot of influence over you. And we all would like to believe that we're not influenceable, right? We heard that phrase of, if your friend jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge? No. If your friend smokes, does that mean you're going to smoke? No. But are you scientifically more likely to? Yes. Like the people that you surround yourself with, you will start to pick up their habits, their mannerisms. And to some degree, like, let's say you have a friend that's always talking about how, I'm trying to think of something good. They're always talking about how much the job market sucks and you are really looking for a job right now, it's not that you can't be friends with that person. It's that while you're looking for a job, you might need to take some space because they will affect what you think about the job market. You will start to pick up on that belief because you hear it over and over and over, and our brains are silly like that. So choose your friends very wisely, first of all. If you feel like you can't set boundaries with people, this is why I'm bringing all this up. If you already struggle to hold a boundary with a friend, with an adult friend, with another adult that can handle disappointment, I always have to remind myself of that. When I set a boundary with a friend, I remind myself they're an adult, they can handle disappointment. It doesn't matter if my boundary disappoints them. They are an adult. They can handle disappointment. I literally say this to myself, like about my own parents still. Like, they are adults. They can handle disappointment. And I remind myself that too. If somebody sets a boundary with me, or I'm disappointed that something didn't happen the way I hoped it would, it's okay. I'm an adult and I can handle disappointment, period. And it's, I think our inner child sometimes will come out when we feel that disappointment, and it's not always our best self. It's an old version of us, whether it's the friend or you. But I'm saying all of this because if you already feel like you struggle to put a boundary in place with an adult friend, there's probably already some underlying issues there. There's probably already a reason why you don't feel safe saying those things to that friend. Because I can tell you right now, if I look at my friendship circle and I had to look at my best friend and say, I don't want to drink tonight, she wouldn't even bat an eyelash. There would be no, oh, are you sure? Oh, that's going to bring down the mood. Ooh, not even just what? No. Like, and I'm not afraid to say that to her because my friend is a safe person for me to talk to. And that's how it should be. So that's what I mean. Like, if you already struggle and they have like combated your boundaries, there is already other underlying issues. So assess those friends, assess what they bring to your life, assess why you keep them around. Assess the shit out of that because you get one life. It's too short to be wasting your time with anybody that makes you feel like you have to be a lesser version of yourself just to be around them. It's not it. And I have learned that lesson numerous times. So I'm coming at this from experience. I have learned that lesson way too many times in my life. And I'm at a point now where I am so much more guarded with who I even let into my inner circle because I've had to cut so many people out of my circle for that very reason. Because I think your friends should inspire you and also like, your friends should be safe for you. Your friends should be safe for you to talk to. And setting boundaries with friends, to me, that's a red flag if you feel like you can't do it already outright. So assess. And then after you've assessed, I'm not even saying you have to break up with those people, but maybe just consider putting less time in with them. That's your currency. Your time and attention is your currency. And you don't have to be continuing to pay your currency into something that is not benefiting you. And I hate to say it so frankly like that because I think everybody deserves love and connection, but they can go find love and connection with people that they feel safe with or that they want to go and do those things with. You need to be looking for your safe people that you can have a boundary with. Like when I see a friend at this point in my life have a boundary, I'm like, you are so hot. I'm like, I love that you have boundaries. That is so good to hear. It's like not like a turn on like sexually, but like it is like a friendship boner. I'm just like, oh my God, I want to be friends with you even more because you respect yourself. And that is so beautiful. And I feel like so hard to come by sometimes. So find those people. Okay. And I think that was actually it. Was that it? Oh my gosh, we answered all the questions. That was so good. I had so much fun doing this. We should do this more often, y'all. I know we only do Big Sister advice episodes once every season. This one was a two-parter, but if you want to be part of the next one, like I said, make sure you follow me on Instagram because that's usually where I ask for the questions. But I'm going to go ahead and roll last week's outro clip because I'm going to say all the same things. Make sure you follow along. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please, 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 if you listen this long or YouTube, anywhere, Can you leave me a fruit emoji down below? Because girl, we are in our fruit era right now. My favorite fruit's watermelon. So like leave me a watermelon if it's your favorite too, but like whatever fruit, leave me a fruit emoji. And something that really helps, like genuinely, and it is completely free for you to do it. If you feel like you love this podcast and you want to show it some love, please leave me a review. If you're on Apple or Spotify or anywhere you listen to podcasts, leave me a review, leave me a little 5-star. And if you're on YouTube, leave me a comment and a thumbs up. That really helps me to get seen by more people. It boosts the engagement and it allows us to like grow our community. Now, for all the other fun stuff, I of course have a Patreon where you can get exclusive content. I just put out a hair and makeup tutorial where I like showed you how I do my hair when I like last week. So many of y'all were like, your hair looks exquisite. How did you do that? I made a tutorial for you. It's on Patreon. I also showed you how I do my makeup for my setup, and there's also so much there. I do an astrology report every single month. I do a tarot report every single month. We do vlogs over there as well. So if you want more behind the scenes of what we get up to around here in Kloee Taylor's universe, make sure you join. I also have my courses available to you, 3 different ones at 3 different price points. And I have an extra special announcement. If you have stayed this long into the episode, make sure you're on my email list because I guarantee you they are going to sell out. But for the first time in 6 months, I am opening up my astrology and tarot readings again. For the first time in 6 months, I feel like I want to do that. And like I'm excited to do it. And I feel honored to like share your energy. So if you have been wanting a reading, if you have been missing me in that capacity, I have not opened these since last October. Like I said, I guarantee you they will sell out because when I go long stretches without doing them, they sell out pretty fast. I don't know that I will do a restock. Sometimes I do right away. Sometimes I take 6 months to do a restock. Sometimes I think that I'll never restock again. So if you would like a reading, both, like I said, I do astrology readings, Saturn return readings. I'm offering a new sector of astrology readings as well, where you can get more of your transits for the year. So if you want like a yearly personal breakdown, that's coming. And I'm doing a few, less of the tarot readings, more of the astrology, but they will be available. So make sure that you check those out. Links down below. It's on kloeetaylor.com. Also, just go peruse my website. I just redid it. I had it redone, or I say I had it redone, but I'm the one who did it. Like, I am the one that sat there and made that website pretty. So that's why it took so long, because I'm a one-woman show. Do it myself. But go peruse, go check it out. Like I said, I'm also updating my course. So if you want to get your hands on that, there will be a new sheet available in there soon, probably with a new video segment as well, talking about that. And that is what I have for you this week. I feel like I'm forgetting. Oh, if you want to follow me, of course, I'm on Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok. I'm everywhere. The Discord also, if you want to join that, I have been significantly more present there. We're having such a good time. I'm currently remastering it. There is going to be new sections. We're doing more like cyclical living on the Discord, where we can just like basically do cyclical living girly pop shit together. And I'm really looking forward to it. So definitely check it out. If you're not a part of the Discord, come join. It's completely free. All my links are down below. And thank you. Thank you so much for all these amazing questions. I'm so excited to film the part 2. And I will see you all, talk to you all next week. Please do not forget to follow your plan and not your mood. Bye.